Hi, I'm Kathleen O'Connor. I'm an associate professor of education at New Mexico State University Grants campus. And I am here today to talk to you about how to create your early childhood portfolio. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now so that you can see what I see. And hopefully you can see that now. So basically, the early childhood portfolio is a way for you to document your progress as an early childhood educator. And the CDA, or the early childhood portfolio, has been under a lot of different names. Mine was called the CDA portfolio back in the 90s. So today we call it the early childhood portfolio. So why create a portfolio? Students ask me this question all the time. Why is it important? Why do they need to do it? Well, basically, it helps you assess your growth as an educator over time. It helps you demonstrate your expertise and capabilities in the classroom. It helps to have something to share with colleagues, principals, and directors. It can also help you get a job if you are in an interview and you bring out your portfolio. It's a method to articulate your thoughts, your beliefs, your ideas, to reflect your philosophy, goals, and professional growth or experiences. It's a method of archiving teaching methods and techniques in the classroom. It's a method to show your understanding of the best practices in the field. And it's basically documentation of what you have learned in a college education program. So all of these things come together to help you as a professional in the field of early childhood education. There are many, many ways to create a portfolio, and it is important to make it a reflection of you, your professionalism, your philosophy of education, your learning, your experiences, your knowledge, and your personality. It is a documentation of your learning and classroom experiences. So it's important to make it a reflection of you. Today, I'm going to show you what my portfolio looks like so that you can have a sample to work from. Rather than see this as an assignment or to see it as a way to assess your own progress as a student and future education, your portfolio is a reflection or representation of yourself. It is worth the time to invest and care. Invest in care for this project. It's not something you want to slap together overnight. Definitely, when somebody does that, I can see it. We all can see it. If you put time and effort into it and you make it something that is important to you, then your portfolio will be a full reflection of yourself and your work in the classroom. And I want somebody that I know can do the job if I were hiring for education. At NMSU Grants, there's a portfolio rubric to help you build your portfolio as you work your way through the early childhood education program. Each course provides a portfolio assignment so that you can complete the portfolio in over 3 or 4 semesters. Now, in each class, that portfolio assignment will come up. And when it does, you're not expected to have the full portfolio if you haven't taken some of the courses. You're only expected to have something from that class. You're only expected to have 2 artifacts in your portfolio. Now, you still need to build your portfolio. You need a 3-ring binder, you need a title page, you need a table of contents, you need your dividers to show that you are covering each of those areas. And for the classes that you have been in, this is a great time to go to those classes and pull from some of those assignments. And that way you have them for the future. If you have lost some of that work, then you may need to go back and pick it up again so that you have it when you most need it. So this is the portfolio. This is the rubric for the portfolio. And basically it tells you a little bit about what is expected. It has a description, a goal, a selection of artifacts, and it tells you what an artifact is. Now, I'm not expecting you to go to some ancient civilization site and dig up some old pot or something that has been left by that ancient civilization. I'm looking for you to go back through your courses, through your coursework, and find information, artifacts that are important or relevant to that course. You can come up with lesson plans, a thematic unit sample, reflection paper, formal observations, case studies, some simple activities, samples of communication that you did with families, and photographs. Now, if you're going to use photographs of children, remember that you have to have parental sign off. Parents have to sign off on that. And you need a form that you save to show that you have that you were given permission to use their child's picture in your portfolio. And a lot of schools just do it automatically, but I recommend that you go ahead and do that just to make sure you're on track. And then your colleague or whoever's in the classroom with you can take pictures of you working with the children. So again, an artifact is something that you've done in one of your courses, and I will give you a heads up, a warning. In your curriculum and implementation courses, you will have done work in a classroom, and you will have formal observations from your expert observer. Now, that can be the classroom teacher, or that can be someone that you brought in that is an expert, considered to be an expert observer. An expert observer is someone with a master's degree or somebody that's had at least 3 years of experience in the field of teaching. So look for your expert observer, look for your observation, and those forms that they should fill out in detail will be something that you will need if you apply to the bachelor's program in education. Whether you're going for the early childhood bachelor's or a bachelor's of education, you will still need to have those on hand, and you will need to submit them as part of your teacher education portfolio, your TEP. And that is a whole other portfolio that you will be doing. So here I tell you a 3-ring binder is perfect for this project. The bigger, the better, because this is something you're going to fill up quickly. And I can tell you from working in the field for over 20, 30 years, I have a lot of projects that actually overfilled my binder, and I ended up with more than one. So you want to keep those, keep it a big one. Don't get a small one. You're going to fill it up. So here we go. So this is a little bit more about your rubric. It basically tells you contents for the portfolio, your 3-ring binder, typed dividers or dividers that you label. So you want to label each competency area, 2 artifacts for each area. Now that's not much. In my day, we had to do 4 or 5. So you're lucky you're getting away with only 2. A reflection of each artifact. Why did you choose it? Why is it important? You will need to give that information right in front of each artifact. So you want to also show a portfolio that's well organized. You want to have a title page, a table of contents, a philosophy statement. Why are you interested in teaching? Why do you want to be a teacher? What's important about it to you? A statement, just a simple type statement is good enough. A resume. You will not need transcript or things like that until you apply to the TEP. This one, it's just something that you could have on hand. A resume is always something good to have if you need it. And 3 letters of recommendation. Now, you won't need that yet. Again, you will only need your transcripts and your 3 letters of recommendation when you do the TEP. That's the Teacher Education Portfolio. Now, over here on the left-hand side, it shows you the areas of competency: child growth, development, and learning, health, safety, and nutrition. Do these sound familiar? Family and community collaboration, all those are courses that you have taken or you will take. So keep that in mind. You're looking for artifacts for these specific competencies. Developmentally appropriate practice. This is something that you will be pretty much dealing with in every early childhood course, because developmentally appropriate content is something that you definitely need to learn. So there's another area. Learning environment and curriculum implementation. Ring a bell? There's a class of that name. Assessment of children and evaluation of programs. It's another course. And professionalism. So keep in mind, these are courses that you have taken or you will take. This is information that you will be getting in all of your courses. So the work that you do in those courses, you need to put in your early childhood portfolio. And it's designed this way on purpose. The third page of the rubric basically is like a grading, is a way to grade you. As you see, you are graded on organization, labeling, table of content, appearance, mechanics, and you also need to provide a copy of the blank rubric, title page, philosophy, your teaching philosophy, resume, and any letters of reference. But you will not need to provide your transcripts or your praxis scores until you apply to the teacher education program. Now, just a little hint, you want to start gathering that information and putting it all in your portfolio so that when the time comes, you can find what you're looking for. I have so many people that say, oh, I threw my stuff away from my courses. Well, I'm telling you now, that's not a good practice. Save it, especially if you are on a professional pathway towards becoming a teacher or working in the classroom. You definitely will need all of these materials. There's a reason they're included in the courses. So here you can see a rubric. This is a grading rubric that grades you either as unsatisfactory, developing, proficient, or exemplary. So in here, it gives you all of the things that you need. And again, you don't need to include those NMTA praxis scores, not yet. Now, because we are online, I will be doing this grading in the online course. So pages 3, 4, and 5 of the rubric show you this competencies. For example, on here, let's say competency D right here in the middle, developmentally appropriate content, and it tells you what's unsatisfactory, what's developing, and what's proficient, and what's exemplary. So again, an artifact is something that you bring from one of your courses, and DAP, or developmentally appropriate practice, is included in most of the early childhood classes. So you will be able to bring an assignment, something you did in a classroom, a lesson plan, a paper you wrote. All of those things can be included in your portfolio. So each competency asks for an artifact and a reflection. So there should be a summary page included with each artifact. So your reflection should talk about why you chose this artifact, what you did, why it's important, and how it goes along with teaching in the classroom. While some portfolios need to be strictly professional, some creativity is required as part of the job description in early childhood. From the design of the boards, of the projects in the classroom, you can show the environment where you worked. It is important that your portfolio reflect you and your classroom, your experiences. So again, taking snapshots of your classroom as it evolves month to month is very important. Taking samples of children's artwork, taking pictures of their artwork so you can put in your portfolio is important. So again, it should reflect you and your classroom. You should use images of the children's work and pictures of you interacting in the classroom as much as possible. You should be telling stories. You should be doing circle time, you can be doing lessons with students. All of these are somewhere that you can take a picture. You can have a picture taken that documents your work in the classroom. You may use many images of the children only as long as you get permission from the parents. Again, you must keep copies of permission forms. So here's a sample of my portfolio. The following slides show my CDA, Child Development Associate portfolio from 1992. It is 30 years old, but it reflects my work in the preschool classroom. The competencies are similar to yours. The portfolio shows me working with children in the classroom. It also shows projects and artwork that the children did in the preschool environment. This portfolio has helped me to remember projects and teaching that I've done for 30 years. And believe me, you lose those memories after a while, especially if you're not working in the classroom. And then you're like, oh gosh, what did we do for community helpers? Oh my gosh, what did we do for health, safety, and nutrition? And luckily, I was able to keep a good documentation of that and find that so that I always have an idea of what I did for my own portfolio. I hope this gives you an idea of what a portfolio should look like for an educator. You will need yours to apply to the teacher ed program, so you want to keep good records. Now, as you see my portfolio here, I put a copy of the rights of the child on the very front, as well as pictures of the children and myself in the preschool environment. And I believe in the rights of children, and I just wanted to portray that. So here it is right on the front page of my portfolio. Now you can put a title page or something that reflects you. You could put early childhood portfolio and your name. It could be as simple as that. But this is your chance to get creative. This is your chance to really bring a view of your life in the classroom to your portfolio, and someone will see that eventually. And in my case, many people have seen this because I've done many presentations with it. So you need an autobiography. What is an autobiography? It's a little bit of a story about yourself and your path. How did you come to be here? What is your interest in early childhood? Why do you want to be a teacher? What is important for you? And what is your motivation for working with children? Why are you there? You may not even have thought about this. You may think, oh, I just like kids. It may be as simple as that, but you want to round that out a little bit. Tell me a little bit more. What about being in the classroom is important to you? And why do you want to make it your career? I make use of the pictures of children and their artwork. This is evidence of your work with children, and this child drew a picture of me. So you can see here the front page of my autobiography section talks a little, it has pictures of the children. So you can see these are all the children I have worked with, and they have aged out and have children of their own at this point in time. So here you can see a child's artwork. Again, I always label the children's work, whatever they do, I ask them to tell me about it, and I write down what they say as well as their age and the date. This is important for parents. When they go through their children's work at home, they want to see what their child has done, so it's important. And then you can also keep track of a child through time so that you can see their changes in their work. And you will see different improvements in their writing, their drawing, their painting as they age. A teaching philosophy, again, goes along with your autobiography. What is your philosophy of teaching? Do you think you just should put all the kids in one room and let them go free? That's one philosophy, and maybe it's a valid one, since there's a lot of studies on that. Studies where children just play and actually end up in the same place as children that are given lots of worksheets. So you want to see, you want to be able to talk about What is your philosophy? And there are many different curriculums out there for early childhood ed. So as you check them out in your courses, you should have more ideas about what they are and how they work in different systems. So you can add a description of your program, as I did, again, along with your statement of teaching philosophy. And I do recommend you use the words developmentally appropriate practices. Those are what we are looking for in early childhood. So anyone working in that field will want to know what that is and what it means to you. Again, you see a child's artwork, you see his age, the date, his name, and he describes what he is drawing. This is important for his language as well, because you end up in a conversation with that child about their artwork, and this is part of their language development. Competency goals. While I had 5 competency goals and 13 areas, you only have 7. The following images address these competency goals, and they are very similar to yours, as I already have mentioned. So your competency goals are as follows, based on the rubric: child growth and learning, health, safety, and nutrition, family and community collaboration, developmentally appropriate content, learning environment and curriculum implementation, assessment of children and evaluation of programs, and professionalism. All very important. So the first section in my portfolio was safe or safety. Health and safety is what it comes under for you. And again, a picture of the children and an image, basically a description of what I did, how I did it, what happened, why I did it, and why it is important to the functional area of safety. And again, in this one, I believe it was teaching children what to do should they catch on fire, and that's dropping and rolling, stop, drop, and roll. We taught that. We also had the firemen come with a fire truck, showed the children everything. We practiced stop, drop, and roll. And when we assessed children about what they should do, what they said was stop, drop, and roll. And so you can tell, this is what I did. This is why I did it, how I did it. And you should be thinking about this with every one of your artifacts. What did you do? Why did you do it? What was the outcome of doing it? Here's more on safety. Teaching children about safety is very important, especially in the beginning of school, teaching them that they can walk instead of run, that they be careful with objects such as crayons or paintbrushes, things like that. But also what we did was we took out the first aid kit, and we showed children the Band-Aids, the tongue depressor, the cotton balls, the swabs, and we let them touch and pass around all the objects in the first aid kit. And what we ultimately ended up doing was putting a Band-Aid on every child, although most of them had experienced that before. They all wanted one, so this is fine. You give them the experience of having a Band-Aid. We showed them basically the first aid cream, and everybody got to try it on their hand. So this takes a lot of fear out of something like a first aid kit for children. They can see what's in it, they can touch the objects, and they know that if they fall down or they get hurt in some way, that you're going to take care of them, that you're going to protect them. And if they need a Band-Aid, you'll give them a Band-Aid, and that you're going to make sure that they're okay. So this goes a long way to ensuring children that they'll be safe in the classroom, that they'll be safe there at school. Then what we had the children do is do a little collage with the first aid card, and they got to glue on their Band-Aid and their tongue depressor and their cotton ball and their swab. So they got to do a little project out of it. It was sent home, parents loved it, and the children felt assured that they would be taken care of in the environment. This is especially important at the beginning of school when children have anxiety about leaving their parents and coming to a new place. So next under safe, now of course back in the 90s, we really didn't have cell phones yet. We were maybe just starting to get them. But what we did was we obviously, we included telephones that children could draw, and they learned the numbers 911 in case of an emergency. They also learned their own phone numbers, and we had them practice their phone number. Now, today, everybody's phone number is in the cell phone. So you just click a name and there you are. You have someone you know, or someone you're trying to get a hold of. Back in those days, children didn't have that. We wanted to make sure that if they got lost, they knew their parents' first and last names, their own first and last name, and their phone number, so that if something should happen, they would know who to call and the numbers to call with. It's still important to educate children on this and to help them understand that they may not have a phone, but in case something ever happens and they're alone or they're lost, they can tell someone a phone number where their parents can be reached. Next, health and safety. Again, we had a whole theme on fire that took about a week, about being safe with fire, being not touching the stove or pulling hot things from the stove, not staying away from electric sockets, and also what to do should you catch on fire. And luckily, the firemen that visited gave us all fire hats, and we were able to talk about this in circle time, and that was our major theme for the week. So again, once you have a theme, you can address a different part of that theme every day. And on the bulletin board, you can have pictures. As you can kind of see, there's pictures that can kind of help you talk about that theme. And by the end of the week, I'm telling you, all of those kids that love talking about fire and fire engines and how to be careful, how to be safe around fire. Next, we have health again. I'm not sure if you can see it, but what I did was basically have children glue in bones on their little skeleton. And this is a basic drawing I drew that is just a basic body drawing with the face. You can let the children put in their own face if you want, but this is to get them to understand what is in their body, that we all have bones. And around Halloween, a lot of children get scared because they see pictures of skeletons, and skeletons are made to be really bad or scary. But if we talk about a skeleton holding us up, and how our bones enable us to move and do things, is very important. They can learn about their bodies. You can also teach them about their skin that covers their bones, their teeth, their eyes, their hair, and you can talk about various parts of the body and talk about keeping it safe and healthy. It's important to start addressing health at this early age. So there's some other things here I hope that you can see. We had a flannel board, and these little skeletons you can usually get at the dollar store. It's a decoration. Sometimes you can find it at Walmart. And essentially we took the skeleton apart, put flannel on the bones, and then stuck it onto a flannel board. And basically the children loved it. They loved putting it together, taking it apart, and some of them did silly things like putting the bones in the wrong place. This is all playful and fun, but as they go, they're learning about the skull, the ribs, the arms, the pelvis, the legs, the feet, and the different names of the bones. Now you can get even more explicit and name those bones. And if you've had anatomy and physiology, you want to bring out the big book of learning for preschoolers, you can find all of that and teach the children the correct names, which is very important. Also, children love to find their own bones. They love to feel their arms, their shoulders, their fingers, and there's lots of songs and circle dances that you can do about the skeleton, about the bones. Let's see here. Next was for health and safety. We talked about germs. Now there are a lot of elaborate exercises out there where you can place glitter on children's hands and then let them play and see where the glitter spreads as you talk about germs. However, I think that one of the most, although that's very effective and I would do it as an activity, I think it's also very important to bring out a microscope. If you don't have one, it's very important to try to get one for your program and bring in samples of germs, real germs. If you don't want to bring a microscope, you can get images of germs off of the internet. Sitting down and talking to the kids about what happens when they get sick. Like they'll always talk about when they threw up, when they had a stomach ache, when they had a sore throat, or they got chicken pox. These are all topics that children love to talk about. So when you're talking about how do you think you got sick, you can bring up the idea of a little tiny invisible monster that gets spread from person to person. It can get spread by sharing food or drinks. It can be spread by coughing or sneezing into the air instead of your coat sleeve or your sleeve of your arm. You can talk about things like that, and children can learn that coughing or sneezing into the room is not good for everybody else, and learning to cover their mouth when they do that is very important, especially in the preschool. You can also talk about in this time, in this day and age, why we need to wear masks. So there are several ways to keep healthy in a classroom. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Do not share your drinks or food with other children in the classroom. Wash your hands before you eat, and wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, and wash your hands when you come in from outside. There are 3 times of the day that you need to wash your hands, and allowing children easy entrance into the restroom, letting them use soap and water to wash their hands is an important learning tool. Let them happen, let it happen, let them play in the water a little bit, and teach them that there's ways to stay healthy. The other ways are basically eating foods that are good for you instead of junk foods. Now we had 2 monsters, and on the right side of the screen you see Mr. Germ. Now this was drawn off on a piece of poster board. It was based on a Raid commercial, so it's our own Mr. Germ. Back in the 70s, my mother created this when she was teaching at Head Start, and she told her Head Start directors, and she told her CDA instructors from the college, who took this information to New Mexico and spread it to other early childhood educators. So if you ever come across a Mr. Germ, you know that it was invented by Janet O'Connor. So here's a picture of a child washing her hands, and Mr. Germ was a big thing. We had his poster in the classroom, and whenever somebody didn't cough into their sleeve, other children said, "Oh, he let out Mr. Germ." Mr. Germ was a way to signal to kids, oh, we need to stay healthy, we need to wash hands, and we need to take care of each other. So it's very important to get these concepts across. Next was stone soup. The health and safety is a huge area. There's so many interesting lessons that you can do. We had junk food monster, and nobody wanted to be a junk food monster. Basically, we sorted out healthy food and junk food. And children began to learn that junk food was not healthy, but healthy food was good for you and could be really good. So we decided to make stone soup. Stone soup's long been a mainstay of most classrooms. There's a beautiful story, and the kids love the story. You can make it into a flannel board as well. And let the children play with all the parts and pieces. There are many, many other good books about health, including like The Very Hungry Caterpillar, and can't think of some others at the moment, but stone soup is a mainstay. We basically had kids with plastic knives cut soft vegetables up. So they were able to sit down together and everybody had a part of cutting. Now, children need to be supervised even with plastic forks and knives, and it's very important that there's enough staff to help them with these projects so that nobody gets hurt, nobody's pushing overly hard and a potato jumps up and hits somebody in the face. You got to be very careful. But also we brought into the idea of community, where every child brought something, a canned good from home or a fresh vegetable to put in the soup. Now you need to work with parents on that, and you need to talk about how if there was just one thing, it wouldn't be as good as putting all of the items together, all of the vegetables together into a soup. And you bring in the idea of community helping and working together for a certain end. And so we ended up cutting up the vegetables and then put the soup on to boil. And by snack time, the soup was ready and everybody got a little bit of stone soup to eat with their crackers, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Children that will hate vegetables and will not touch vegetables will start to eat those things if you provide exciting ways to make them and you include them in the cooking, letting them stir, letting them cut, letting them put the pieces in. It's all very important. And as much as you can, allow your children to cook with you at home. Now, some schools don't have a means to cook, which I think is really unfortunate. Because cooking, you learn so many math skills, so many science skills are learned through the process of cooking. So it's very important to try to get that into your classroom in some way. The environment. The next competency area was the environment. The environment has everything to do with what is taught and what is learned in the preschool. Everything is arranged and rearranged to orchestrate learning every minute of every day. Materials are changed out occasionally to stimulate interest, inquiry, and learning. Weekly themes and lessons provide important information to prepare preschoolers for life. If you are not doing weekly lessons in your classroom, it is time to start. Look at the month, look at a calendar, start figuring out what's going on seasonally, what's going on with holidays and celebration. What are the topics of that month? For instance, we have fire health, fire safety, we have health. I believe they all take place in October, which is also Halloween. And so you want to, bring out those topics and use them. Now, you can extend a topic for more than a week, certainly, but you want to change it up. I've been in schools where they did one lesson a year, and I think you're wasting valuable time. Preschoolers are interested in everything, and they definitely want to know what's going on with every season and each month's holidays. And they're interested in these topics. They want to learn about health and safety and bones, and they want to learn about the world. They want to learn about the animals in the world and what's going on in the world and other children of the world. And this is an important time to teach children to love everybody, that everybody can be your friend, and that resolving issues when you have arguments is something that can be done easily. So much is learned social and emotionally in preschool that it's very important. Now, I'm going to tell you, here we had a science section, and we were always changing it out. We would have plants, pine cones, rocks. We would have magnets. We would have magnifying glass. We'd have different posters of spiders, posters of plants, posters of animals, and a dinosaur tray with sand, little dinosaurs that they could play with, seashells. All of these things of the natural world should be in your science center. Changing it out every so often, maybe with a hamster cage, goldfish, anything like that that you can have in your school is fine, as long as the children are supervised with those things. But you should be talking about science, and there's a lot of science books that are preschool level, and this is the time and the place to start teaching children about the world and about our natural world. It's very important. So basically, you can see here, I had a science center, and with different things in the science center. We also put things like technology, like we put an old phone that they could play with, old typewriter, things like that, old voice recorder that actually worked, let them record their voices, old cameras, things like that that the children could play with. And they loved it. They loved exploring those things and playing with them throughout the day. Next is the environment. Basically, what happens in the environment, how you arrange it, and what you put and what you change out throughout the year is very important to the children's learning. I basically had a schedule where we talked about the passage of time. Now, a lot of early childhood educators will disagree on this, but I believe it's important to teach children, or to begin to teach children, about the passage of time. This is not something that they understand. They know, oh, there's daytime and there's nighttime. They might have a nap time. They might have a snack time. They know that there's different times that they do different things. So getting children to understand things like the sun is up in the morning and the sun goes down at night, the passage of seasons, the passage of time, the passage of weeks. Therefore, having a calendar where they put the number up on the next day, or that day that they're in school, is very important. This is why we always had helpers for the week, and the week helper got to do different things, putting up the number on the calendar, counting those numbers, then learning to recognize those numbers out of order is very important for children. They can also learn things like the month and the days of the week. You can start talking to them about it. You don't have to do a long drawn out recitation of every day, of every month, of every week. And, that's too much. But you can go over it at the calendar every day that the kids are there. And it's simple, it's easy, it's not a huge lesson. And you just ask the questions and they tell you. And they learn as they go. So I had built a schedule that has a snack time, and these are images I actually got from a storybook. I believe it was, I'm not even sure if it was a Richard Scarry book, but it was a storybook that had pictures, and I used the pictures to demonstrate the different areas, like snack time, outside play, creative time, story time, going home, circle time, cleanup time, project time. Now, because children don't understand 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, they don't understand that a regular clock or what those numbers mean, but they do understand when it's outside time, or when it's story time, or when it's circle time. So when those times come up during the day, you can turn the hand of the clock to that time. And then the children begin to recognize, oh, what's next? We're having creative play. What's next? Okay, maybe it's snack time. Maybe it's cleanup time. Maybe it's circle time. Then they can turn the hand themselves, and they want to play with it. And it gets them used to the idea of a clock and the passage of time. They know that they do all of these things before they go home, and so they can keep track of time on their own. This also helps with cleanup when playtime is ended. You can move it to a cleanup. We don't have it on here. Yeah, we do. Cleanup time. You can say, oh, it's time. It's cleanup time. You ring your first bell. You tell the kids they start cleaning up or they finish up what they're doing. It's very important to do that, to give them, to respect their time and what they're doing in that time. And by the second bell, hopefully they've finished up what they're doing and you can move them all towards cleanup and sitting down for circle time or whatever your day calls for next. Environment, again, having a schedule for the parents is just as important as having a schedule for the children. Again, children of this age do not read yet. So it's important to have pictures that demonstrate what you want them to learn or what you want them to know. Now, labeling the areas with words is important because as they get older, they can start seeing the letters, sounding them out, familiarizing themselves with them, and then they will start reading eventually. So you want to provide a schedule for parents and for children. And again, here's just some images of circle time, outside play, snack time. Here's children playing in housekeeping. This was actually a grocery store that the children were playing in, and we have a post office up here if you can see it. I don't know if you can. Again, environment varies routine spontaneously to take advantage of unusual opportunities. So you might have circle time and have something all planned and ready to go. But then maybe a parent comes in with a violin and wants to show the children how to play the violin. That's a perfect teachable moment. Just disregard what was going on in circle time and make that the circle time. I don't know how many bunnies we've had brought in, kitties, puppies, hamsters, turtles, things like that have come into the classroom to visit, and children love, love, love those things. And circle time is the perfect time to learn about new animals. And so here you can see on this side, we have children learning to play the violin, and a parent that did show us how to do that. And it was really fun, and all the kids loved it. Over here on the left, you can see it is springtime, and in the springtime is the perfect time to plant plants. You want to have the kids do that so they can see the roots growing in clear cups. You want to have them help you plant, or you help them plant their plants. And I think we've planted beans before, and we've planted, I think, like flowers or sunflowers. You can plant anything you want, but we also have a flower up here that has the stalk, the leaves, the roots, things like that, the labels. So that was a whole lesson. Being kind to green things, helping children understand that plants have feelings too. They're part of our natural world, and they have the ability to feel pain and fear, and how to talk to plants and handle plants and grow plants. Having a garden in your school is always a great idea. Also talking about how different seeds plant different things. Going on a field trip to see those different things growing is also very important for their growth and development. So here we have another competency goal to advance physical and intellectual competency in physical, cognitive, communication, and creative. So again, here's pictures of the kids playing in the housekeeping area. And you can see here's a real phone here, and it's not hooked up, but they can still make calls on it. Now, cell phones, that's a whole different deal, guys. So physical. There's lots to do in physical. Can you provide physical experiences? How many physical experiences do you provide for children, and do you play with them? The more engaged you are, the more they will learn what you need to teach. Many times I see a playground and I see the teachers sitting, chatting to each other while the kids run around and play. Well, that's not really a time for you to gossip or be talking. This is a time for you to play with the children, helping them, get engaged in play, then maybe stepping back a little bit. It's a give and take. Certainly when we did physical, I was out there running with the children, hopping, jumping on one leg, crawling, rolling, everything that you can do on a lawn, we did. And the children enjoyed every minute of it, laughing and playing. Also, so that's a lot of large muscle, and you can see here we have them on a balancing beam, very low to the ground, so it's not too far up. Monkey bars, crawling, they're playing on monkey bars and the swing. We had tire swings and the monkey bars. They love that. And of course, at the beginning of the year, that's kind of scary for 4-year-olds. So helping them to do that practice and holding them while they practice until they feel safe is very important. So the next area, physical, again, you can see children leaping through tires like you would do in the military, swinging from swings, jumping on a trampoline, playing basketball. All of those things are very important to encourage physical development, large muscle development. The other thing is on the other side of that coin is small muscle development, and working with paints, working with glue, cutting, placing strings on paper, cutting different various lines, working with stamps, coloring with markers, and painting is all very important for children to develop their small muscle development. Also, learning how to trace letters, starting with one big letter. They can start tracing the dots until they make that letter, and that small muscle development. And also they're learning the name of a letter. And as you teach them the name of a letter, teach them the sound of the letter. That's very important to understand that some letters have more than one sound. There's also a mama letter and a baby letter, a capital letter and a small letter. You can couch it in a way that they understand, a mama letter and a baby letter, or a daddy letter and a baby letter, and getting them used to what they look like and the shapes and how to make those shapes is very important for the next steps, which is reading. So again, in physical, there's a lot you can do in the classroom. On the left-hand side of the screen here, there's a lot of dancing you can do in circle time, a lot of releasing or discharging energy by jumping up and down. Simon Says some kind of activities like sitting down, standing up, sitting down, standing up, exhausting, but that's why we do it, to get everybody ready to sit down and listen in circle time. Playing in the gym if you have one. Painting, and actually here in this picture, children are washing toys. At the end of the week, which is a Thursday or Friday in some places, we would provide small tubs of soap and water throughout the school, and then we would have the children wash the toys. This is great for small muscle development, excellent water play, and the children sit and talk and clean, and they get used to doing dishes. So it's something that can have a step later as they grow. They can help at home with those kind of things. And you have the chance to sanitize your classroom. So also on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a child with a knife. Yes, I said, with a knife, sticking it into a jack-o'-lantern. And we always cut a pumpkin at Halloween, and we let the children help with that with supervision. You're always there. You need to have enough people to help the children. Everybody got a turn to cut on the pumpkin and to scoop out its guts. Then we compared what's inside a human to what's inside a pumpkin. So again, you're bringing in the cognitive, you're bringing in the seasonal. This is science. Cutting a jack-o'-lantern is also cultural and part of Halloween. We later took the pumpkin apart, cut it apart, scraped it, and made pumpkin pies. The children got to roll out the dough, mix the filling, and filled up the little pie pans with pumpkin pie, and they ate it for snack. So again, you may have to make a few ahead so that you have them ready in time, but for each class you can have them do the process so that they know how it works, that a pumpkin pie comes from a pumpkin. So next, providing opportunities for children to work through their processes. Give them time to learn that the thinking is not a scary process and that they can accomplish anything. So this is in the area of cognitive. So again, I have pictures of kids measuring and cooking, doing all kinds of different things. Like here's a record player they got to play with, putting together a haunted house from old boxes and discarded materials. Also puzzles. We had a puzzle star chart. We had 10 simple puzzles and 10 harder puzzles. We had children work their way through each puzzle, and they got a star each time they could do it in front of the teacher and show that they knew how to do a puzzle. We also sat there and worked with them and helped them if they got frustrated or needed help. We were there to assist and watch them do it and encourage them to go a little bit more and think about it and try a little harder. And ultimately, all of the puzzle pieces got where they belonged, and all the puzzles got slid back into their slot, perfectly put away. You want to make sure and train the children from the very beginning that everything needs to be put away in the spot where it belongs. Therefore, shelf toys need an image of the toy along with the word of the toy. That way, children can begin matching the physical toy to the picture of the toy, and also understanding that the word of the toy is right there when they start to learn to read. Now, again, here's an image of our star chart. You can see on the left-hand side, it's in the background of this picture. I'm helping a little girl here put together her puzzles. And each child, once they did their 10, and we did the 10 easy puzzles in the fall, and we did the 10 harder puzzles in the spring. And so you have to be able to separate them out and know which is which. So in the fall, the easier puzzles; in the spring, the tougher puzzles. And each child got to take home a puzzle card that had their stars. And it said they completed the 12 puzzles. And these were the easy puzzles, 7 to 12 pieces. And so you can have the harder puzzles have more than that. So you want it just a little tougher, not a lot tougher, but a little. Again, this is my functional area, what I did, how I did it, what happened, why I did it, why it's important. This is part of creating a lesson and talking about what worked about it or what didn't work. Again, in cognition, I had children make pumpkin bread. So along with that pumpkin pie, we later made pumpkin bread. Everybody wanted to measure, everybody wanted to help, everybody wanted to stir and get the pumpkin bread in the pumpkin pans. And you can see they enjoyed it. Also over here, we have children making applesauce. We took the boiled apples, we picked the apples, we tasted the apples, we boiled the apples, and then eventually we made applesauce where children got to put it in the colander and grind it around. And then basically everybody got to try that applesauce. And then later on, we made tortillas. This can be something that can be a cultural activity. And they always enjoy any kind of Play-Doh, and enjoying tortillas is even better because we got to cook them and eat them later. So cooking is a great way to learn skills and also to learn mathematical concepts. So another area of cognitive were using field trips as opportunities to expand children's knowledge and understanding of their world when possible. A lot of children don't come in. They don't come in with a lot of experiences unless their family has provided those experiences to them. So providing experiences for these children gives them the knowledge that they'll need in the future to, when they're in school, teachers need to assess prior knowledge. This is what you're doing in preschool. You're creating that prior knowledge. So field trips provide experiences for children that are very important. In here, and you can see in this image, the children are at a ranch and they got to ride a horse. They got to pet a horse. They got to pet a cow. I'm not sure about goats. I can't remember if there were goats or not, but they got to go around the ranch and pet the different animals and see them, feed them. And then later on, here's another field trip we took, and that was to get a Christmas tree. And taking the children on a field trip to where they had Christmas trees was quite something. We always have enough parents helping along the way, so the children are supervised. We took a walk and we got this tree. Everybody got to pick the tree they wanted. And then we took the tree back to the preschool where we were able to set it up for Christmas holidays. Communication. So this is another area of importance of teaching children how to communicate. This is all language literacy. You want to be able to do a lot of stories. You want to teach them a lot of words, a lot of vocabulary, and you want to have them learn skills of working together, playing together, understanding each other. And so communication is something that we were always working on in our school. And here you can see we're big fans of Halloween. We had the Pumpkin Man, and this is a flannel board story, and it's a fantastic one. It's so much fun. The kids love to do it, and you have hand motions that go with the story. And again, flannel boards and magnet boards are fantastic because once you do the story, in your story time, you can set it there, and then the children can play with the pieces, taking the pieces off and on, putting them together in various ways, and repeating the story again and again and again. Stories like the Three Bears are important. There's so many stories that you can use, but like Three Billy Goats Gruff is one. The Pumpkin Man is another. And I encourage you, if you don't have a story on flannel board, buy 2 stories. Have one you tell in circle time and one that you kind of cut up or Xerox to make your own flannel board pieces. They're so easy to do. And I actually go look for old storybooks so that I could cut them up and then put flannel on the back and then put it on the flannel board. You can put it out, the children can manipulate it and play during free play, but they're always learning language because they're repeating that story that you taught them. It's the same thing for a puppet stage and puppets, doing a puppet show for the kids and then letting them play with the puppets and repeat the story is very, very important. So here you can see we're playing with the Pumpkin Man, having a story time. Here you can see I'm doing the motions in circle. And then again, here's another story about a turkey that lost its feathers. So these were our autumn stories going on for the month of September, October, November. So another part of communication is recognizing when children are having problems with their speech. As soon as it's recognized that there's a problem, they should see a speech pathologist, and getting parents to take them is sometimes difficult. But the sooner that speech impediment is addressed, the sooner that child will be able to go on and live a quote normal kind of existence. Otherwise, what happens is if children start mispronouncing words or having trouble saying certain letters, the other children start to make fun of them, and then their socialization takes a hit. And when their socialization takes a hit, their self-esteem and self-confidence takes a hit, and then it's a snowball rolling downhill. It just can get worse and worse. Instead of waiting until kindergarten to address these issues, jump in at pre-K and start getting them the help they need. I've seen children catch up in time for kindergarten so that you didn't even know they had a problem. So it can be a little bit of expense for the parents, but it's very important to their child's well-being. And so, you know, recommending a speech evaluation can be something that that needs to be done. So again, under communication, language, literacy, and reading, we had what we call weekly readers. You can still get these. It has a slight cost per month. I'm thinking it's like $4.99 or something like that. And every month you get 10 weekly readers. Well, this was our big school kid work. This is the work they do in kindergarten, is what we told them. So basically, they wanted to see what that was. And it's a small, you know, it's like 2 pages front and back. You've got 4 pages of a lesson that's at the preschool level. So basically having the children read through the story, and at the back, they have like a worksheet that they could do. 1 worksheet, that's it, 1. Not 100, 1. And basically, they enjoyed the process. We had a conversation about it, and it was done every other week or so. It wasn't all the time. It was something special. Here on the right-hand side, you can see other images of the kids playing, the kids doing circle time, and also you can see down here a puppet stage where the kids are doing a puppet show about the 3 bears. Goldilocks and the 3 bears. You see the 3 bears right there, and the children have learned the story backwards and forwards and are giving a puppet show to the other kids. And everybody gets a chance when the puppet stage comes out to play with the puppets and to put on a puppet show. This again is increasing language and literacy and communication, and children are learning so much during this time. And again, the more literacy projects you do in your classroom, the more storybooks you read, make it twice a day if you can, the higher your children's scores will be when it comes to reading in 1st grade. All of this is preparation for getting them ready to read and for reading. And we have found over time, the more stories, the more literacy projects you do, the higher the kids' scores turn out to be. So this is a clue. The other thing is teachers. It's got to be playful. It's got to be fun. If you're sitting down doing 100 worksheets, you're not learning. You're not going to learn words. You learn words by communicating, by interacting, by playing, by telling stories, by singing, by doing all of these things. You're learning how to communicate, how to say words. And eventually this is all going to lead to reading. And children that learn to communicate also did better in school long term. So you want to keep that in mind. Any kind of dramatic play, anything to stimulate language is a plus. Creative. In this section, a lot of teachers, it's amazing how many teachers will say, I'm just not creative. Well, what that's saying is that you're kind of a boring person. You don't know how to think out of the box. You don't know how to think of the world in different ways. It's time to learn about the world and how it affects you and how you affect it. It's really important to play with materials, especially in preschool. I see teachers give worksheets or give something out of a little drawing book or something like that, and children trace and draw. That's not creativity. Creativity is putting a bunch of paper, glue, pencils, markers, different textures of paper, string, everything you can imagine, stamps, anything that you can find, and letting them play with it, letting them glue to their heart's content, letting them staple, fold, cut, and play with those materials. That is what stimulates creativity. Giving them a brown bear that you make them color brown is not creativity. That's just a little exercise in small muscle development. That's nothing. Give them materials that help them create. How do you think architects get started? How do you think computer geniuses get started? How do you think they learn how to do these things? They learn from playing. Play with the scissors, play with different textures, materials, different papers, different colors, different string, anything you can imagine. Let them glue. A bottle of glue is not an expensive cost when you're contributing to a child's cognitive development. And when you're doing creativities, that's what you're doing. You're contributing to cognitive development. So you can see here children playing with things on the table. Again, building a haunted house out of old boxes that the children brought from home. This is an amazing creative activity. I've done it several times with children. They love it. They can't imagine what it's going to be, but they start putting it together and they start imagining and pretending, and eventually it turns into something, whether it's a haunted house on the left side of your screen or a castle on the right side of your screen. Is very important. These were put together by the child. Now, maybe you help by spraying it silver or spraying it black, spray painting it, and then helping them add the pieces or parts to make it a castle or make it a haunted house or a robot or a dinosaur or whatever it is that they want to be. It's a very, very important. Creativity is something that leads to higher level thinking. And if you're not a creative person, get the paints out, play, do some paper mache, do some art on your own to cultivate that within yourself. The world is your oyster. You're only limited as much as your imagination is limited. So let your imagination soar and teach the children to let their imagination soar. When they're playing house or they're playing restaurant, ask them, do you have any dinosaur eggs I can eat? I'm really starving for dinosaur eggs. What about something like that? What about spider stew? There's a million different things a child will make you if you ask for it. Get them thinking about things that they can make, and they will do it. And it leads to greater cognition. More creative. We're talking about creativity again. Here's a paper mache dinosaur, and I have to say, I stole this from another classroom out of the Milan school, so you probably will know who it is. But basically, creativity allows time for spontaneous and extended play throughout the daily routine. We gave children anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes of free play. We put out props, we put out materials, we let them do whatever they wanted. One time it might be a grocery store, another time it might be a post office, another time it might be a magic carpet ride or an amusement park. Another time it might be something else like a playhouse. But providing opportunities for them to play with props increases creativity. So giving them time to play is essential. Getting them to play with your basic setup, like your playhouse, is important. Letting them try on costumes, as you see this little girl on the right-hand side is all dressed up. I created all kinds of princess props for little girls, basically by using great, shiny, beautiful material and glue. Glue and Velcro. I'm not much of a seamstress, but I can sure put things together, and the kids love it. You can put together capes, hats, all kinds of props for kids to play with. Here again, you see yet another school with a lot of kids playing in the playhouse. They absolutely adore it, and they have all kinds of activities that they do. The more they can play like this, the more emotionally confident, emotionally and socially confident they get in their communication and in their cognition, because they're communicating. They're having to invent stories and then pretend to play roles. Those are complicated thinking abilities, and children do it well. Letting them play, dramatic play, give them free time to let them do that. They really need the time. And sadly, recess has disappeared. Giving students 5 to maybe 10 minutes outside, that's not enough time to create a whole plot, a theme, the roles, and a storyline that children need to do to create their play. So advocate for more play. There's numerous studies that show that play is one of our greatest assets, and children, again, that have been left to just play all day long, however they want, with other materials they want, tested higher on reading scores than kids that were sat to just do worksheets throughout the day. So there's some great studies that have been done that indicate true play is really a child's greatest benefit. So again, creativity paves the way to discovery about the world, how things work. It opens the mind to question, to inspiration and problem solving. Without creative thought and experience, nothing would be invented. The world would not be an interesting place, and everyone would live a kind of mundane life. Creativity is a spark of the universe. How we use it is a gift, a joy that lends us a level of freedom. Throw out the worksheets and allow true creativity to reign. Celebrate the amazing work your children do. Put it up on the wall. If you have a purple bear rather than a brown bear, that's great. That kid's thinking out of the box. Throw out the worksheets. Cultivate creativity as an example to your students. To claim that you are not creative indicates that you cannot think about the world in different ways. You are stuck in a box. Music, art, and creating are all signs of higher thinking. Put out the paints, the glue, the paper, the markers, the stapler, the strings, the stamps, and let the children use the materials during free play. You can also provide those materials during a structured project time, but don't put them away and not let them use them. Let them use them. You know, if they mark on something they shouldn't mark on, bring them back to the paper. Don't just take it away from them. Teach them that there's places to put the marks and places they can't. So you see here on the left-hand side, a child with a marker and a child with a bottle of glue, and most teachers would be like, oh my God, they're using the glue. That's what it's for. Buy 100 bottles, let them use the glue. It's important. It's very important. Painting, we had for free play, we have water paints and water and cups for water. The children were allowed to get the water, to sit down and paint as much as they wanted to do. It was a very calming activity. They enjoyed it. And some of the children would come join those painters and bring table toys such as puzzles or blocks or things, table toys that they could play with. So keep that in mind. Creativity is so very important for cognitive development. Here's the images of the haunted house project. Again, it doesn't have to be a haunted house. It could be anything that you want to build, a castle, it could be a boat, it could be a robot, it could be anything. And here you see empty cereal boxes brought from home, milk cartons, little containers, macaroni containers, things like that. And here you see the children have actually put it together, and we've put brown paper on it, and the children are covering up the boxes to make it look like a building. Eventually, when the children go home, we would spray paint it black. The next day they could put on pumpkins and ghosts and whatever kind of scary thing they wanted to create, they could put on the haunted house. And this project went over great every year. Children loved it. They still love it every time I've done it in the past. So here we are, competency goal. I'm not sure because the screen is in the way here. This is our competency goal 3 for me. It was self-esteem, social, and guidance. And so here I have some images of kids painting and playing in the playhouse. So self-concept, self-esteem, self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-efficacy, and self-regulation, these all go together. When a child develops a strong sense of self, they are going to learn better. They're going to think better. They're going to be creative. They're going to get engaged. And when children are engaged in school, you know they're going to be successful in life. So children, you know, they best develop these things in preschool, because preschool teachers, they're focused on this. They're focused on boosting self-esteem, showing the child that they can do it, whatever it is, whether it's learning a letter, learning a number, writing their name, putting a puzzle together, creating something, whatever it is. We teach that they can do it, and that they can do it, and that they're doing it well. So you can see pictures over here of me helping children in costumes on the slide. We always said the Pledge of Allegiance first thing in the circle. It sets the tone for the circle, and everybody gets a chance to learn the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me tell you, they feel so big when they're taken to church or taken to a public event where the adults actually stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and they can say it too. It lends to a sense of self and self-esteem. And so it's very, very important that you start teaching them these things and allow this to happen. We always open circle with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the helper of the week always got to hold the flag. And this changed every week. In the beginning of school, you may have some kids cry because they didn't get a chance. Let them all hold the flag. Pass it around, let it be, everybody gets a chance. And it's very important to make everybody feel like they got their chance to do it. Later on, eventually they learn that they'll get a chance. Eventually it will be their turn, and they will be the helper of the week. So self delights in each child's success, expresses kindness and support, and when a child is having trouble, helps him or her learn from mistakes. So it's very important to talk to children about these things and encourage them when they're not sure, or they're scared, or they don't know what to do, or maybe they're afraid, or they just don't think they can do it. So it's very important to provide an opportunity and to encourage them through that process. Here's an image of me with a little girl doing a project. I think we were making a paper plate turkeys. So they got to glue the head and the feathers on a paper plate. And you can see the turkey behind us on the wall. That was a paper plate turkey. And here again here I am with Vicente, a little boy in my class that needed a little extra help. They got to tear the pieces or cut the pieces of paper, and he just needed a little help, and I sat and helped him with it. It's important that you spend time with each child telling them how important or amazing they are. Adding to that sense of self, helping children recognize and appreciate racial, ethnic, and ability differences and similarities. Bringing up that there are different people in the world, different cultures, different races, different skin tones, talking about how everybody is amazing and everybody is different and it's okay. That is very important in the preschool. Making friends, understanding that somebody might have ability that another person doesn't have, making sure that children understand there's different eye colors, different hair colors, different skin colors, but that everyone is important and everyone is special. Every culture is important and special. Um, the next thing is always, I jerked a little because there was a noise outside. Anyway, it's very important to talk about these issues in the classroom. And the saddest thing I've ever heard is don't say gay, because I've had so many children that had two mommies or two daddies. And a lot of people don't understand this, that being gay isn't a choice. It is something you're born with. It's a genetic heritage. And that some children do have two moms or two dads, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And getting children to accept differences and understand that everyone is special is very important. It starts here. It starts at the preschool. If it doesn't start here, then we're lost. We're lost, and we need children to understand that we have friends all around the world that speak different languages, that wear different clothes, that have different things they do, different traditions and different cultures is very important. So bringing that into the classroom and showing children everybody's special. Everybody has something amazing to share, and everybody is amazing. It needs to happen here. So more along the lines of self, delights in each child's success. I think I went over that. Expresses kindness and support when a child is having trouble and helps him or her learn from his mistakes. One of the things I do at the beginning of the year is have children draw a picture of themselves. And you can do it with a 3-year-old class and then a 4-year-old class, and you can see the difference between the two. You can see the level of development. And I would have children do pictures of their family as well as their home and pictures of themselves throughout the year. And honestly, everything they're learning, their skills, their development shows up in their artwork. And when you see children that are happy and they express themselves on paper that way, is very important. This child sees himself as a happy person, and he's a happy kid. He has arms, so he's empowered. And he's got legs, so he can run. And so you can start looking at these things, and eventually you see more details come on. You start seeing eyebrows and eyelashes. You start seeing hair. You start seeing hands with fingers, because they realize they can do things with their hands and fingers. And hands and fingers are a level of empowerment, as well as arms and legs and feet. So it's very important. Let them describe the meaning of their drawing. Again, it's a way to assess their learning and their growth. Also, by having them draw of themselves, you get a quick assessment of their self-esteem, their self-knowledge, their level of thinking, and growth through time. By having them draw their family or house, you get an understanding of the family from the child's perspective. So you can see relationships at work. If they're siblings, if they're parents, you can tell if there's issues going on at home by what the child draws. And this is a famous psychological assessment, person tree house. And you can get a lot of information from looking at children's drawings, and you can see what they're going through emotionally by paying attention to their artwork. So it's very important to have them do different drawings in their free time, or even as a group activity, and let them express themselves through their work. Another area is I have affectionate and appropriate physical contact with each child daily in ways that convey love, affection, and security. Now, a lot of teachers get upset. They don't want to be caught touching a child because they're afraid that somebody will say something, it'll be taken wrong. It's important for preschoolers. Remember, preschoolers are still young. They need to sometimes be held. They sometimes need to be patted, and they need to be told that they're doing well. This helps with them feeling secure at home. So I tended to spend a little time every day with my kids in the classroom. I helped them with their work. I would ask them how they were doing. I would continue conversations with them. If they were doing well, I'd pat them and say, good job, pat them on the back. If they needed a hug, I'd say, do you need a hug? And I would get down on the floor on my knees and give a hug, because sometimes children need that. Sometimes they just also need to just sit on your lap and get a little security, a little comfort, a little bit of home, a little bit of caring. So another thing that I did in my classroom is I noticed all of the good things the child was doing. If the child was playing well, if they were sharing, if they were cooperating with other kids, if they were, helping the teachers, I noticed, and I would say, what a great job you're doing. I'm so proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. You need to get the child to be proud of what they do and recognize that they should be proud of themselves, that they're growing up and they're doing great things. So providing a reliable environment where they're secure with their relationships, and this takes time to develop. They don't know you when they first come into the classroom, and it's a scary thing to be away from mom, to be away from dad, and to be into a brand new place with other kids. So it's important to give them a lot of that security early on and spend time with them and build that relationship really quickly so that you're someone that they can trust. The other thing I do in a classroom is show and tell. This is an old mainstay for education. It provides opportunity for a child to be recognized by the class. They also get to talk to the class about what they brought to school, and this contributes to language and literacy. If they forgot something, they can bring it to the next day or week. You can give them something special and they can share it with the class. Keep small things on hand for such as a time for show and tell, so that everybody has something. Sometimes, parents forget, children forget. So it's really easy to have little things to show a kid and take them aside and say, oh, you forgot something? Here's something that you can show and tell. And this just helps with their self-esteem and their self-sense. So you definitely want that to happen. You want to get children a good sense of themselves. So let me go on to the next screen. So here we go. Basically, for self, provides many opportunities for children to feel effective, experience success, and gain the positive recognition of others. Again, being the helper of the week, holding the flag, giving praise for real work. You don't want to just continually give praise for students doing whatever little things they're doing. If they really do a good job, give them the praise. You want them to understand that they're doing, that what they're doing, they're being rewarded or recognized for something that they did well. If it's too much, they tend to blow it off. Oh, well, it's no big deal, And so it's important to be very sure about who and what and where and what you want to give praise for, and always make it something that the child has done that's important to them. And so you have to really know your kids, and you have to watch them, and you have to know what's important to them and when they really need that little boost. And so giving them opportunities to do things like set the table. And here I have a snack helpers chart. I hope you can see it, where it says wash tables, napkins, which is put on napkins, and cups. And so each thing was a name, and you can see there's the old glue that held the Velcro, but there's Velcro, and then we had a name of every child in the class. So every week there would be 3 new names on the snack helpers chart. So in addition to the helper of the week, that's on the bulletin board, we have the snack helpers chart that's near the table or wherever you would have snacks at. So again, all of these things just contribute to a sense of self and a sense of being important, a sense of self-esteem, self-efficacy. So good social experiences help children succeed in school and relationships. And so you see here, I have my box. I call this my box of boys. I just love these 4 boys. They were always playing and they were always having such a good time. And I just enjoyed playing with them. And this time they love this box and they were playing in the boxes. This just shows you that sometimes a plain old box can be more fun than a real toy just bought from a store. So again, these social interactions are important. Children learn how to do things like share with the puppet stage, like somebody gets to play the role of a papa bear, a mama bear, and a baby bear, or somebody gets to be Goldilocks. And then so they're taking turns telling and remembering and telling the story. So this builds a sense of communication and cooperation. And then they can change roles. And they did this a lot. Everybody got to change roles and everybody got to be Goldilocks and everybody got to be one of the bears. And you did the story as many times as it took so that everybody got a chance to do everything, because it's important to them to do it. And again, language, literacy, communication, and socialization. Here's 2 little girls playing together. And so again, some boys during snack time. And snack time is a great time for conversations about how to say please and thank you, how to use etiquette, how to use a napkin, how to pour the milk. Teachers, don't just pour out of the gallon-sized milk into their cups. Give them a little measuring cup and let them pour the milk. Let them cut the bread. Let them butter the bread. Whatever it is, allow them to do these activities because they're learning these skills, and it always improves their self-efficacy if they can do it themselves instead of having teachers or parents do it for them. Social serves as a social model by building a positive relationship with each child and parent by maintaining positive relationship with other adults in the center. How many times have you seen teachers fighting with each other, arguing with each other, not getting along? It does happen. Look at your school, look at your place of work. There shouldn't be gossiping. There shouldn't be talking about the parents. There shouldn't be, talking about their personal lives. All the workers should be working directly with the children at all times. Now, if you have colleagues, working together is very important. And showing the children about these relationships is very important. And here you can see, here I am working with my friend Kristen, who worked with us for a while. And also here is my mother, who was very good with working with the kids. She was a lot of fun. The kids just loved her. And she did a lot of play activity with them. And she was adored, as you can see here. But children respond well when they see the adults getting along, when they see adults talking and adults laughing and adults teasing the kids, or not teasing the kids, but joking around with the kids or playing with each other as well and communicating well. They can tell when a relationship is a good relationship. They can tell if there's somebody not getting along with somebody. Just the atmosphere in the room changes. And so everybody needs to be happy and getting along. Because how many times have you been in a classroom where you didn't feel good and then everybody else didn't feel good as well? Like everybody was depressed or sad or whatever. And you will have days like that, days when the wind comes up and everybody's just can't stop moving, and days when everybody just seems to be too tired to do anything, and days when everybody's kind of sad. But you also have those days when everybody's happy, when everybody's dancing or playing, and those, you want to have more of those days. But it begins with you. You set the climate in the classroom, and every child and adult knows how you feel when you walk in the door. And so it's very important to not broadcast those feelings, but put on your professional face and try to bring up your feelings of why you want to be there and how you want to help the children. Another functional area, social, encouraging children to ask for, accept, and to give help to one another. So during Christmas time, we did a lesson on the giving tree. And this is a famous story, the giving tree, about how to give from your heart. Not giving toys or money, but giving from your heart. So when we talked about the giving tree, we talked about the story, and this became a game. And it's a game that the parents get involved with. The game is, if I see you doing something nice for somebody else, like sharing or helping, then I will create an ornament with your name and put it on our giving tree. And you can see here, it was just painted onto a paper on the bulletin board. It wasn't a big deal. But this was a letter that went out to parents that told them we were talking about children helping at home. Moms and dads do a lot of activities at home and never even get a thank you sometimes. And so teaching kids to recognize when their parents are doing something nice for them and telling them thank you was part of this lesson. The other part of that was parents, when they recognized their child did something good without being told, it had to be without being told, like putting up their toys, cleaning up a mess, putting things away, and they saw the child do it without being reminded, then the parent sent a little note to school, and we made an ornament that said that on, and we put it on the tree. And then at circle time, we got to go around and see all of the great, nice, and good things that the children did for each other and for their parents. And this was a big deal, helping other people and recognizing when people are helping you. It's very, very important. So using the Giving Tree book as the kind of the jumping off point, we began to talk about what it is to give from your heart, what it is to help, what it is to say thank you, and to be aware that somebody is helping you. And the children loved it. Their parents all helped out by bringing in little notes, and that went on to the Giving Tree. And you can see here a couple of kids. Here's a note from a parent, and also you can see the Giving Tree full of different ornaments that say what the child did. And this is a big part of building self-esteem, and children can say, I did that. I helped clear the table, or I put my toys away without being told. And in this way, parents and children become involved in helping each other. So this is a good lesson you want to do in the classroom. And it's a great time to do it around Christmas time. And because giving of the heart is more important than giving material items such as toys. Another thing for social. Encourages play and relationships among all children across racial, language, ethnic, age, and gender groupings. So there was a time we decided that the boys weren't playing in the playhouse. So we did a number of things. We brought in a number of props, like hard hats and work tools and things like that into the playhouse, and to encourage the boys to play in the playhouse. And eventually they did. They started playing the daddy role, and while a girl would play the mama, and they would have a baby. And they had been times when we had two daddies in the playhouse, and we had two moms in the playhouse. And it's all good. Everybody got to play house, and everybody got to play a role, and they had a game they made up and pretended. And often things would happen, like the house would be robbed, or the baby would be kidnapped, or the house would catch on fire and the firemen had to come in and put the house out, the fire out. So again, this is giving props that the children can use to create a story and then pretend a role. A lot of it may be things they find on TV. That's why we always had Superman capes, where everybody could be a Superman or Superwoman if they wanted, Supergirl or Superboy. All of these are props that lend to a sense of self, and the dramatic play area is the perfect place for that to happen. Guidance and discipline. So another competency area, how we learn about ourselves through our interactions with others. Preschool is where we learn to regulate our wants, our needs, our emotions. We learn about how things work socially and how to get along at school, and how we guide children through this process is very important. Children that have good preschool experiences do well later on in school. They often make good grades, have friends, and go on to college. Although they may not remember it, it may affect their entire lives. There was a study, and they did a study where they studied 500 classrooms, preschool classrooms, and they followed these children through high school and into college. Now, what they discovered is the more the children played, the better they got along with others, the better they did in school. So when they got to kindergarten and first grade, they knew how to interact with a teacher. They knew how to be a helper. They knew how to do things on their own. They knew how to listen and take guidance. They knew how to get along with others. The children that played the most did the best. The children that had very structured worksheets didn't. If they were busy doing worksheets all day and not playing, sadly, what they discovered is a lot of those children ended up dropping out of school. They didn't get along with others. They didn't know how to get along with teachers. They ended up dropping out sometimes as early as junior high level. And they didn't go on to college, whereas the kids that played and played and played and played actually went on to college. And this was across all cultures, all races, 500 preschool classrooms. And this is a very important study because it showed us that the test scores were higher of the children that actually got time to play than the children that didn't. So make sure you schedule enough free play for children to learn to use their imagination. Now, if they're on the playground for 5 minutes and they can't think of a game, this is a child in dire need of learning to use their imagination and creativity. If this happens on your playground, when you have a second grader, first grader, third grader that can't figure out what to do on the playground, that shows you this is a child that never learned how to play, never learned how to imagine, and didn't learn how to do pretend with other kids. So it's very important to start to teach them how to do those things so that they can catch up. Every day, another way I did guidance in the classroom was knows a variety of positive guidance methods such as listening, reinforcement, and redirection, and uses each appropriately. And so here we have ways to ways that teachers can notice what's important in the classroom. Now I've been in classrooms where I have a teacher yelling at a kid every few minutes in a loud, screaming, yelling, obnoxious voice, and it does nothing for the state of the classroom. It does nothing for the child. It does nothing for the group experience. So it is very important to learn how to use guidance in a way that stops you from yelling and screaming at kids for them to do what you want. So it's very important putting forth the rules, letting children know what's expected in the classroom, in pictures, in words, in sentences, on posters, every day, in every way. Remind them of what is expected in the classroom. They eventually will learn this. Having a rules chart where they basically make the rules is important, and they participate in it. Taking pictures of them, doing the rules, putting it on the board also lends to a sense of self, but also helps them to abide by those rules. So it is important for teachers to notice what is going right rather than the negative. Providing physical awards like certificates or stickers goes a long way for behavior, for good behavior. Eventually, you get to a place where the children recognize and appreciate their own behavior and the behaviors of others. I've had children come up and tell me, so-and-so was nice to me. Can you give him a stamp? Yes, I'll give him a stamp. Stamps are cheap. We'll buy them. We'll use them. In the beginning of the year, everybody gets a smiley face for cleanup. Everybody get a smiley face for doing a job well done. Smiley faces are easy to give out. And eventually become less and less and less throughout the year. Once they get trained in what to do and how to do it and when to do it and how to pay attention, they will just go along easily. And when somebody's doing an extraordinary job, you have a good day certificate. These I bought at I guess a teacher's education place where they had these certificates, but you could easily make them on the computer, print out a bunch, and then use them around school whenever they're needed. And again, recognizing what's going right and rewarding it, awarding it, recognizing it, saying thank you, making the rest of the class pay attention to whoever's doing the right thing, whoever's sitting quietly. It's reverse of the way I see most classrooms working. The kids are doing the wrong thing, are being yelled at, and they're getting the attention, whereas the good kids are sitting quietly reading books or doing what they're supposed to do, and they don't get any attention. So it's very important to reverse this, reverse it from the beginning of the school year, and always recognize what's going right, what's going well, what they're doing well. Recognize the good behavior, catch that. Eventually, the kids that are not doing the good behavior will see that other child getting all kinds of attention, and eventually they will do it too because they want to be recognized for good behavior. So it's very important to set up your classroom and do this in the very beginning of the year. If you don't catch it in the beginning of the year, you're kind of screwed the rest of the year. You gotta start it at the very beginning, and you got to abide by it the whole year. You got to continue to catch the good stuff, catch the positive, and recognize it in front of the kids. And then you'll see more positive behavior from them. It really does work. Awards like stamps, certificates are things that are important. I would stay away from candy or food rewards. That just messes up a kid psychologically. Don't do it. Do something different. What they want is your attention and you to realize that they're doing things right. Give them a pat on the head, get down, tell them, I'm so proud of you. You did a good job. Give them a little hug. Give them a stamp, a certificate. These all work even better than any other kind of reward system. So go for it. Guidance establishes guidelines for children's behavior that encourages self-control. They're simple, reasonable, and consistent. A lot of times we're not consistent in the classroom. We get carried away. We don't notice what's going on. A bad thing starts to happen and then continues to start to happen. And then before you know it, you got a mess. So it's very important to set the rules, be consistent across the year. Review those rules every day, every week, every month if you have to. In the beginning, here I have establishes guidelines for children's behavior that encourages self-control, are simple, reasonable, and consistent. In the preschool, it needs to be simple. You don't need like 10, 20 rules. They're never going to remember it. They can't read it. You need to keep it simple, and you need to have a picture showing people acting out that rule, whether it's them acting out the rule in a picture that you took, or if it's images of children like in a storybook. So Through the year, in the beginning of the year, we sat down in circle time. We talked about what are rules and why we have rules. Well, rules are to keep people safe. We want everybody to feel happy and safe and accepted in a classroom. So rules help us help that happen. So by walking, we won't run into somebody or hurt somebody or trip over a toy or anything like that. If we run, somebody could get hurt in the classroom. So one of our rules was we walk. We walk. How simple is that? The other thing is I see teachers that put up rules like no running in the classroom or no running. Well, a kid hears running, run. And then they want to run. So you want to word your rules in a way that's positive, that they will understand. We walk. And we walk, and we practice walking in the classroom. We practice walking, easy peasy. We do it in circle time. We practice walking around the school, and then we come back. Okay, so that's simple. We talk softly. A lot of times the level of noise gets louder and louder and louder, and then the teacher is yelling to stay above the noise level. You can bring that down by saying, we talk softly. You could even whisper it. Can we whisper? We talk softly. Who can lower their voice and talk softly? You practice it in the classroom. You practice it in circle time. And when somebody gets a little bit louder, you say, oh, remember, talk softly. And everybody will begin to talk softly. We put toys away. We put toys away. That's a pretty simple one, worded positively, and everybody knows that that's expected. Again, matching the toys with an image of the toy to the toy on the shelf, training the kids to put the toy where they see the image is perfect. They love matching. They want to put it away, and they will put things away, and you will have a room that is nice and clean and easy to get around in. And then we are nice. Now, taking that rule is a little bit hard to understand if a child doesn't understand what it is to be nice. And so explaining that and maybe even showing that in images is very important. Showing pictures of walking, showing pictures of kids helping each other is very important. So again, here's a rules chart we had. We walk inside, we put toys away, we talk softly, we say please, we say thank you, we take care of each other. So again, you can simplify your rules for a 3-year-old class, make it a little more involved for a 4-year-old class, and in a 5-year-old class, you can make them a little more extensive. But what I find in this state, it's not in Arizona, but in this state, 3-year-olds are mixed with 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. And guess what? The teacher's attention has to be on the 3-year-olds because they need a lot more attention. And they don't have time to teach the 4- and 5-year-olds everything they need to do to get ready for kindergarten. There's not enough time. So please advocate at your center for dividing the kids up. A 3-year-old class can work on specific things for 3-year-olds. 4-year-olds can work on specific things for 4-year-olds that are going into kindergarten. 5-year-olds, they should be in kindergarten. If they're 5 by September 1st, kindergarten. If they're 4 by September 1st, preschool. If they're 3 by September 1st, the 3-year-old class. It needs to be divided up because each age requires different things, and teachers need to be able to focus on that group and what they need. So that's just my my soapbox on that. For rules help us remember. They can change over time and with each group as needed. It is important to ask the children, what should the rules be and why? Rules are important because if children do not learn the rules in preschool, then laws don't mean anything when they get older. And taking something that doesn't belong to them or hurting someone doesn't matter because they don't have a concept of the rules. If you help a child self-regulate and help them understand that rules are for everybody's safety, then they will do it. And as a matter of fact, what I have happen is if a child forgets to do a rule, another child will come in and say, so and so's not talking softly, or so and so did this. No, you don't want them to do tattletaling all the time, but they will catch each other and police each other on the rules. And I've had children go up to another child and say, hey, you're supposed to walk inside. You're running, you're not doing the rules. And then take them to see the rules chart again. So setting the rules up in the beginning of the year, setting it in a visible place, going over it frequently, and then going through it, every so often during the year if the rules aren't being abided by. That's a good way to get it into the system. Also, children will begin to remember these and realize that rules are for safety for everyone. And hopefully they won't get into trouble as they get older. Oh, shoot, I want to go back. Let me see if I can go back. Again, with that, we teach children about caring and love and kindness. This model will, we model this and talk about it constantly. Preschool is where we learn to get along with others and succeed in school. Now, this is very important. The positive voices of teachers become the inner guidance through a child's life. This is why loving words must be said by all caretakers. Negative words later become an inner critic that destroys self-esteem. So it's very important that the words you use are positive. When children start to self-regulate, they will start talking to each other, to themselves. For example, if a child is putting a puzzle together on the table and starts to get frustrated or can't put it together, you will step in and say, this is okay, you can do this. Here, let's try it this way. Let's shift it that way. Let's move it around until we find the right place. Your voice, the calm voice of reason, the child will hear again and again. And then as an adult, when something happens, that voice will step in and you will say, this is okay, we can deal with this. All right, let me just move things around. Let me get resituated. Let me work on this. And that's a positive voice in your inner self that tells you, you're okay, this is okay. You can get through this, whatever this is, whatever the situation might be. So it's important that you give positive words to students about how they look, what they wear, what they do, how they behave, and helping them through the hard tasks will help them later on in life. Your voice becomes their guardian angel, telling them, you know what, slow down a little bit. There's a stoplight ahead, or, be careful of going here or there. It may not be safe. So you want to give children a positive inner voice, and you screaming or yelling is not it. A calm, peaceful, serene attitude and positive words is what will help children later on in life. Next, more in guidance. Alerts to children to changes in activities and routines well in advance, and handles transitions from one activity to another with clear directions and patience. I have seen classrooms where the teachers say, okay, time to go, come over here, we're done. And children don't get a chance to finish their project, finish their play, or whatever activity they were doing. And they're frustrated because they wanted to do this, and then they're upset, and then they go and they get in line and they're not happy, and you got a problem in the classroom all of a sudden. So it's very important, have 2 bells. Give a 5-minute warning before the first bell. It's getting time, we're gonna get ready, we're almost to the first bell. First bell, okay, we have the first bell, we need to start finishing up, we start cleaning up, you start encouraging the kids to clean up or finishing their project. Let them finish that block tower they were building. Let them finish putting the babies in their cribs. Whatever it is, allow them time. This is just respect. Wouldn't you like to be allowed to finish a project you were doing instead of just jumping up and moving from one activity to another? Give a transition time. Give them time to do it. Give them a warning, a 5-minute bell, and then at the next 5 minutes, it's time to clean up. And then clean up, clean up, clean up. Do a song, a transition song. Everybody does this. Even as Simon Says, I see so-and-so cleaning up, Simon says clean up, whatever it is, then move them to the next transition. But give them a little time, be a little respectful of their time and what they're doing. What they're doing is very important to them. And you wouldn't like to be ripped away from an activity you were doing. So give them some warning, give them some time, give them some cleanup. And then eventually, if you have a child that won't comply, you can get them and sit them on your lap as part of circle time or whatever the next activity is. If you have trouble getting children to comply, I would start singing. And I'd start singing and singing a song they all knew. And eventually they stop what they're doing. They turn, they look at you, and they follow you wherever you go. It's important. If you say you don't have a good voice, get over yourself. Learn to sing. Children need to see real people singing, not on television. It doesn't work the same. They did a study where they had people teaching children on TV. They didn't learn. They learned it for 24 hours and then it was gone. But a real person teaching something live, children learned it and remembered it over time. So you want to remember that you're more important than anything they can see on your phone. And use your voice. Sing a song. It doesn't matter if you're out of pitch. It doesn't matter one bit. They will sing with you and you help them. So go for it. Families, the next competency goal, to establish positive and productive relationships with families. We do more than teach children. We teach parents. We model for parents and we teach and model important concepts for families, including how to play. We model competency and consistency, healthy relationships, clear communications. We teach parents how to have important conversations with children. Most of all, we teach families how to play, love, and celebrate their children. We communicate with parents every day about the greatness and joy and beauty of their child. And it's very important that you do this. If your parents come to pick up your kid, have something ready to say about their child, something good, something positive. Parents need to hear it and it's good for the child. Let the child see you telling the parents what they've done, the good thing they've done. Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the bad unless you absolutely have to. But notice what's good and try to get that information to the parent. So the parent can say, wow, you did a good job at school today. You did this or that, or commend them for their work. This is very important that they get that praise from parents as well as from you. The engagements of families is vital to their children. They have much to share. Parents have experiences, talents, knowledge, and are able to bring a world of opportunity to children in the preschool setting. Building experiences for young children is vital to build their knowledge base. This is why we provide field trips and bring new opportunities for children to experience. Having families be part of these activities is very important. They need to see these things happening. What they see you doing at school, they will emulate at home. So you're modeling for parents, and also giving them information about parenting, information about nutrition, information about discipline, appropriate discipline. You can give them all kinds of information, and you are required to do this as part of your job. You may think you're being hired to teach children, but you are hired to teach their parents as well. So it's very important that you give this information to them on an adult to adult basis. And a way that you can do this and establish a relationship is letting them know the great things that their child did or can do, or how smart they are, or how talented they are, whatever it is, you find something and you tell the parent about that. So in this, families suggest activities and materials that parents can share with their children at home. One of the activities I did for this was the cookbook, the classroom cookbook. We did a cookbook and we used all of the recipes that we did with the children throughout the year. And pretty much every month we had some kind of cooking activity, sometimes more than one. But again, we created the recipes, we put them in a cookbook, we let the children decorate their cookbook any way they wanted to cookbook, and then it was given to parents at the end of the year. Some of the recipes were stone soup, applesauce, apple pies, tortillas, ants on the log, letter dough pretzels, like you can make letters out of dough and make them into pretzels, pumpkin pies, hot chocolate, Play-Doh, basic recipes. And then the parent can take this home and do the recipes with their child, and the child will love it. They love any kind of activities their parents do with them as an activity. They just enjoy it so much. It means a lot to them. So encourage the parents to cook with their children. It's important. Parents are central to the preschool experience. Encourages parents to visit the center, participate in activities, and make suggestions for the daily program. So since families are a consumer of their child's education, it is important to listen to what they say and ask for their input, ask for their suggestion, ask for them to be there, ask for them to be part of your activity. You know, in the beginning, it's hard, especially if their child cries or needs some special attention. Letting the parent sit with the child until they feel better is okay. Eventually weaning that child off the parent by letting the child get more and more involved into activities, and telling the parent it's okay for them to go, that there might be a little bit of crying, but you can always hold that child and give them security. But it may take a little time for that to happen. So allowing the parent to be there in this transition process, and allowing this relationship between you and the child, this level of trust to develop, is very, very important. Teaching your job and involving families is essential to any preschool. Many parents are not aware that play is central to teaching, and in the preschool and beyond, children are biologically wired to learn through play. So if you think about it, we all are. If we are doing something playful and fun, we are more likely to remember it than if it wasn't. So the greatest thing is teachers use play, and play is a means to teach. And teaching parents that their child is learning vital information through play is also very important. Because there are times when parents will demand that you're teaching their child the alphabet or teaching their child to read, when in fact their child is not ready to do that. It's not developmentally appropriate. And so it is important to start teaching the parents how you do these things that'll eventually lead to teaching reading, but not now. That these are pre-reading experiences that we give children. So it's important to inform them of what you're doing and how you're doing it. Competency goal program management. I know this video is really long, but you can stop and start it throughout. What is the mission of your school? What is the mission of your classroom? Having a clear idea that you provide quality care, but also quality play and education is a must for any teacher. What is most important for your children and families? You have an ethical obligation to bring a level of quality to the environment and the program. How do you ensure that your program is updated, innovative, and responsive to your students and their families? This is a really important question. I see classrooms that have looked the same for 10 years. That is not appropriate. As I said, changing out lessons week to week or every 2 weeks is vital to a child's learning and growth. You provide children with all kinds of information, and information that they haven't been exposed to. So if you leave it the same all year long, how are you going to stimulate any kind of inquiry or learning about the world? Your children are going to be behind. They're not going to be ready for kindergarten, and they're not going to know what they need to know. So providing a week worth of lessons, a theme, giving that to parents in a newsletter that this is what's covered this month, and this is what we will need, and this is when you can come, and this is, this is vital to the functioning of the school. This is vital. Changing out the pictures. There are so many pictures on the internet. You can take them out of old magazines. You can take them from old storybooks. You can find images about the world, about anything, just about anything. We did a whole theme on under the sea, and we had pictures of starfish and sharks and octopus and all kinds of fishes. And we talked about what they needed to live and survive. And we talked about what people on the earth need to live and survive. And so providing these themes that cover different aspects of science or the world is extremely important. So keep that in mind as you go through and you design your weekly lessons. Look what's going on seasonally. Look what's going on that month. What's important that month. Look what's happening for holidays. Be aware of using the senses to teach the children how to use the senses. We even have a lesson on the senses. We have a lesson on emotions and how to handle emotions. Having a science lesson each week is important. You can always fit it in. So keep in mind that you have a chance to do all kinds of lessons, all kinds of themes, and it's important to do it as far as your program management. So here you see for program management, a sandbox volcano. We talked about volcanoes and what they do. We talked about the solar system and about how to save the earth. We looked at dumps, and we talked about recycling and how to recycle. We talk about the earth, and we talk about rocket ships going to the moon. We had technology lessons, and here we had a robot made out of boxes again. Here's Easter bonnets made out of paper plates, and that was sort of a recycling lesson, but the children had a ball with it. These are all activities that children can do. One of the things that we did for our program was we did a science fair, or what we called an earth fair. And here you can see me in front of the bulletin board that was under the sea. We had sponge painted goldfish. We had sand sprinkled on starfish to make starfish. We had different types of fishes under the sea. And we even had over here a net that we use to demonstrate how fishes get caught in the rings they call that are around 6 packs of Cokes or drinks. In those plastic rings, they're thrown into the sea, and fish get stuck and they get cut and they're hurt. We talked about that, and we talk about recycling. So the science fair was a recap of all the science projects done during the year. And we had children complete 2 of everything, and we saved some of what they did for the science fair. We knew we were going to do one. So children in May, we had the science fair. It was near the end of school, and it was in the evening when parents could come. We served cookies and punch. We had the parents come, and the children were able to show them all their science projects throughout the year. And many of the projects got a blue ribbon that we made on the computer, and every child got 1 ribbon for one of their projects. So everyone got one. And basically it was such a fun thing. And it's a great way to get the parents and the children thinking about science. Here's where, again, we talk about circle time, opens with the Pledge of Allegiance. We review the calendar. This helps children understand the passage of time through days and weeks and months. and years eventually. You want to kind of get this understanding through to the end of the year. We also include a shape, a color, or a letter. Not all the shapes, not all the colors, not all the letters. Narrow it down, simplify it. One shape of the week. And notice where it is in the classroom, where that shape is hidden. Same as a color. Where is the color orange this week? And you find all the places that color is in the classroom. Same as the letter. Where can you find this letter in the classroom? And the children will begin to look for those things. You can sing the ABC song, but you don't need to review each and every letter. Just review one letter a week and the sound of that letter. And then children can start recognizing if that letter is in their name. Same with numbers. You can count the numbers, but recognizing the numbers out of order is what's really going to help the children. And recognizing letters out of order is important, because you will never see letters in a sentence or in a word in order. You will always see them out of order. It will never be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Just because you can sing the ABC song doesn't mean you know your ABCs. You need to recognize them out of order. You need to be able to write them, and you need to be able to say the sounds of those letters. And many letters make more than one sound. So practicing that in preschool is the beginning of reading, and it's very important to let it happen throughout the year. And also quizzing the children at the end of the year through flashcards on those letters is very important. Letters and numbers and shapes. And then you can create a star chart saying that they know those things, or a checklist, but you want to make sure they leave preschool knowing this information. You should have a song or finger play between your information, your theme of the day, of the week. Between your shape, color, and letter, you can have more singing going on, finger plays to hold the attention of the children. And a topic of the week should be discussed. It should take no longer than 15 minutes in the beginning of the year, and up to 30 minutes by the end of the year. So you want to slowly extend circle time. You may have a group that doesn't last 15 minutes. You try to get things done in 5, and then you extend it to 10, then you extend it to 15, and you just keep going that way until their attention span gets longer and longer. But again, you need to entertain between topics, like singing a song, doing a dance, doing a finger play, something that's interesting and fun and allows people to move when they get too antsy, then sitting down, talking about whatever the topic is. But really watch your time. Do not push the limit. Just try to extend a little bit, a little bit, and a little bit. And by the end of the year, children will be so engaged in circle time that it will go beyond 30 minutes. So you want to try to extend that. Occasionally you have a parent visit, or a puppy, or a turtle, or a chicken. So be flexible. Sometimes you're not able to get your circle time done, but just do the best you can with it. That's a teachable moment when a parent brings something into the classroom. Program management coordinates program plans, including guidance and discipline techniques with parents, specialists, and program personnel when appropriate. So again, part of program management is coming up with your year-long curricula, knowing what you're going to cover each week, what is going to be your topic of circle time, what cooking are you going to do, what lessons are you going to do, what activities, what's going to happen during free play, on your bulletin boards. The bulletin boards should be changed monthly to be updated to cover the new month and the new calendar. And basically your weekly helpers, you have one weekly helper that holds the flag for the pledge. And then each week you have a new helper. So you need to list your helpers. You need to map this out on your lesson plans in your planner. And you can also map out any activities you're going to do. Like if you're going to paint chilies or pumpkins, or if you're going to do tortillas, you need to plan it all out ahead of time. And you need to have parent helpers available to help you. I just want to draw your attention to the caterpillar above the Christmas tree bulletin board. This is my letter caterpillar, and it has a mama letter and a baby letter in each circle. Now, what we do is we put together a caterpillar at the beginning of the year, and then as we, by the second half of the semester, we start asking, we have a small caterpillar for every student, and we put it in an envelope with the letters on it, on the circles. Then what we do is we start with their name, and we work them through the letters of their first name, then their last name. And when they can do it like a flashcard, when they know what the letters are and they can tell you what the name and the sounds are, you put it on the caterpillar head, and they have their own little caterpillar head, and you keep adding letters, and they're on the wall. So you keep adding letters every time they know what the letter is. So by the end of the year, everybody has added to their caterpillar and has learned all of their letters. Then they can take their caterpillar home. This is the way we did it. And that way, at a glance, I could see if a child didn't know a certain letter, and then I could just sort of quiz them. Oh, what's this letter? Oh, what's this letter? What's this letter? And we could go over and over and over that letter until they recognized it on when I did the flashcard with them. So we did flashcards during the free play period. Whoever was sitting at the table or wanted to do something, we just sat there with their little caterpillar circles and would ask them, well, what's this? Well, what's this? No big deal, very quiet, just something we did every day while the kids were there. And by the end of the year, I could tell you who knew their alphabet and who didn't. It's the same with letters and numbers and squares. You want to get up, you want to try to get your numbers up to past 10, maybe up to 25 or 30, so that they start recognizing those and are able to tell you what they are out of order. And that way, you're helping prepare the children for kindergarten. So for program management, we did give children report cards every so often, every quarter, pretty much. So maintains up-to-date records concerning the growth, health, behavior, and progress of each child and the group, and shares the information with parents and appropriate center personnel. So you need to be doing developmental assessments. So you need to have a file on every child, developing each area. So for physical, there's a checklist. You would take them out. Who can jump up and down? Who can jump on one leg? Who can tiptoe? Who can crawl? You do checklists on each child. We also have the early learning guidelines that tells you what they should know for each area, each functional area. So sending out report cards is a really interesting thing. Parents really love it. And also, these are so simple that it kind of tells parents where their child is at. Like, I know my first and last name. That's one of the areas. So they could be, pass or fail, but most everybody gets a fail or needs work. So basically, you would let parents know that by the end of the year, this is what their child is aware of and what they can do. They can participate in musical activities, they can sing songs, they enjoy rhythm, they know how to say the Pledge of Allegiance, but you want to keep it simple. Like, I know 8 letters, I recognize numbers and shapes, I can count objects, and I can follow 3 verbal directions. So when you get 4-year-olds, say you have 3-year-olds, 3-year-olds really can only follow maybe 1 verbal direction. Go get your elephant off the table, or go get your teddy bear off the table, whatever it is. A 3-year-old can do that. But if you say, go get your teddy bear and take it into the bedroom, that's 2 directions. Get the teddy bear, take it into the bedroom. They're not going to be able to do that. But by 4, you can start them out with 1, go get your teddy bear. 2, go get your teddy bear and take it into the bedroom. 3, go get your teddy bear, take it into the bedroom and get your coat. So you would have 3 directions. So as you go through the ages, you want to increase how many directions they can do in one time. And so for a 5-year-old, it might be 5 directions. But again, you have to work them up to this. It's not something that happens overnight. And it helps with the cognition, it helps with what they're learning, and it helps you if you can give them directions. So here again is an image of the report card with their work habits, language development, social behavior, and other things, self-reliance and musical development. And it has little pictures that show, and so you can basically give a check mark that they can do these things. And parents really love report cards, so it's kind of important for the program. Program management works with a member of the team and others in the classroom in the program, including substitutes, parents, and volunteers. One of the things we loved is having parents come in and do activities or special activities with the kids, either in circle time or at another time. And so we would discuss these projects and make plans for parents coming in. And it's very important that you alert the children something special is going to happen. Somebody's going to come and do something. It's going to be really fun, or whatever it is. You kind of give them a little teaser so they know what's going to happen through the day. But also when you're in the classroom, connecting with your colleagues a couple of times a day, making sure you're on the same track, you're doing the same thing, or what everybody's doing what they need to do is important. So talking before school, after school, and if you need to say something during school is also important. So just be aware that working with parents is of vital importance, as well as getting along with your colleagues. It's just shows a level of professionalism when you can get along. And clear, open communications is also important. Letters to parents telling them what you wish, like at the beginning of the year, who you are, what's going to happen in the year, what you're going to teach their children, why school is important to them, also what you want them to do. You want them to dress their children comfortably. You want to maybe have an extra pair of clothing that you can bring and keep at school for any accidents. You want to make sure the kids are in comfortable clothes and shoes, able to walk and run without falling. Make sure that they have jackets and hats, so there's just some basic things about what's going to happen at school. Also with snacks, if you're going to have nutritious snacks, you want to make sure they understand you want fruits or vegetables or homemade things, things like that, rather than, sweetened punch or things like that. You want to use real whole juices and fruits. And you want to let them know that that's what's acceptable at school. Occasionally, like Halloween, other things will happen, but that's okay. You just try to start off with the healthy and encourage parents to, that you're trying to teach your children about healthy nutrition, and that they need to get on board with that, kind of be part of that at home as well. And it helps them too, if you can give them information about how healthy nutrition will affect them. So again, professionalism, just keeping on top of everything, working well with your colleagues, informing parents of what's going on, knowing about the laws and rules of your state, of your center, and of schools is really important, and it's always changing. So it's very important to be aware of your licensing agency, what rules and activities they have, what they want you to do. When a visitor comes to visit your classroom, informing them of what you're doing, how you're doing it, letters that you send out to parents, workshops that you're involved in, and also being involved in the state activities, being involved in agencies, especially child-centered agencies, and letting parents know that you're involved with licensing regulation and state laws. Again, professionalism enjoys working with young children in a group setting and demonstrates positive attitude in his or her role. Again, I'm not really smiling in this picture, but I was playing the role of a witch at Halloween. So anyway, I'm a happy person generally, and I show the children in the classroom by being happy, by smiling at them, by telling them how happy I am to see them, how much I love them, or how much I enjoy them being at school, and also letting them know what a good job they're doing in school or with projects and things like that. I find that children bloom under positive attention, and by being happy, I create a positive, happy atmosphere. The children are happy. And like, again, you set the climate for the classroom. And if you're happy, they're going to be happy. If you're enjoying school, they're going to enjoy school. And if they know they've developed a relationship of trust, they know that you care for them, you're going to take care of them, and that you're like a substitute mom or whatever, they really know that, and they feel comfortable with you. And I could never sit on the floor without getting all the kids right on my lap all the time, because they always wanted to be with me. And I absolutely enjoyed being with them whenever I was in the classroom. For Halloween, we did a whole theme on masks, and we showed children what was behind a mask. And the day I dressed up like a witch, I had a lot of makeup on, and you couldn't tell it was me in the beginning, and the children were a little bit afraid, a little bit taken back, and we just said, it's okay, we have a visitor in school today. And then we asked the children who they thought I was, or who it was, and they were scared because it was a witch or somebody like that. And so then I ended up taking the makeup off in front of them to show them that it was just me, and they all loved that. They were like, oh, you're not a scary witch, you had a mask on. So we talked about masks, Halloween masks. So now it's important to talk about masks that keep us safe from germs. So again, that would fit in the germ section, in the health section. So again, showing kids that a lot of scary things they see on TV are people pretending to be monsters or ghosts or scary things like that, and that on Halloween we just dress up and we're just people pretending. And it's very important for them, and it does eliminate a lot of fear. So around Halloween is a good time to address fears with the kids. Professionalism can be many things. Can be how you conduct yourself with the children, with the parents, and with your colleagues. It means you take what you learn in your own courses and create lessons for your students. Sometimes teaching is something you do every day. You do every day, creating new lessons, looking for new ways to get concepts across, and caring about helping. Teaching your children about how to be helping, how to be caring and helpful is important. Your students will learn and grow through playful lessons, a stimulating environment, and using tools of creativity. You need to be, you're not just a teacher for the 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours, 6 hours you're in a classroom. You are a teacher always. You go home and you look at, say, a napkin and you think, oh, how can I use this in a project? Or you look at life and you think, how could I teach this to the children? And you come up with an idea like Mr. Germ, how to teach the children about an invisible item that makes them sick. It was really difficult. And finally, coming up with the idea of a monster, an invisible monster, was a way to do it. So finding simple ways to teach children from their perspective makes it so that you're a teacher all the time. Whether you're at home, whether you're watching television, whether you're on a road trip, or whether you're in class, you should be continually thinking about how to get these concepts across to your children. Professionalism is when you further your studies, not only with training, but by engaging others and teaching what you know. Professionalism means you concentrate on your work and the children when you are at work. This isn't to say that you can't have fun. You just have fun in the context of being a teacher in the classroom with the kids. You spend your time with them, not talking to your colleagues about what so-and-so did last week. You keep the gossip to a minimum, and everybody is appreciated and understood. Being a professional means you keep up with the state laws, information, training, and joining at least one professional organization. So again, here is a list of professional organizations in the state of New Mexico. And in a way, it's very important. A lot of these meetings have gone on to Zoom. So it's very important to be part of that body of people that talks about changing rules or advocating for children, for young children. A lot of money has come into the state by people who are sit on these committees and create grants or work with other people to find funding for special programs for early childhood. So it's very important that you join some organization that keeps you updated, whether it's the New Mexico Association for the Education of Young Children, which I use in a lot of the coursework, New Mexico Early Education, Childhood Care, Education Care Department, New Mexico Voices for Education and Learning Care, Early Learning Care, New Mexico Children's Alliance, New Mexico Kids, New Mexico Pre-Kindergarten Research Alliance. Many of these associations work on the behalf of children and influence the legislature and help agencies and organizations that work with young children. So it's very important that you become aware of them, know what they do, know how to find them. They all have websites. You can find them on the web. Do become involved in it and get at least in one membership. I know I have been a member of NMAEYC for a long time. There's times I've let my membership lapse, but I always go back just because it does update me and keeps me alert as to what's happening with young children and children's education. So take advantage of that when you can. The Child Development Portfolio is one sample of how to assemble your portfolio. This one is just a representation. And again, I made it in 1990. So the competency 92. So the competency areas are a little bit different, but the concept is the same. It's a representation of your work, of what you've done in the classroom, what you're going for. If you're wanting to be a teacher, it shows a level of your professionalism. It keeps records of your growth as a teacher. It keeps records of your lessons, your bulletin boards, the work that you've done. And then if you need it in the future, you can find it because you put it in a safe place. For me, I draw upon my past experiences, and it's amazing. When I got this job, I had just finished a counseling degree, so I had been out of the classroom for a long time, but reviewing my portfolio brought it all back to me. And at this point in time, I have 2 master's degrees, but this portfolio is one of my most my most cherished things that I've ever done, just because I can go back and remember what I did and the time I spent in the classroom with the kids. do it, do it so that you remember. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you may be like, oh my gosh, how did they teach that Mr. Germ lesson? I don't even remember. But if you put it in your portfolio, you will have it and you will remember it and you can utilize it. You can do it with your children, with your grandchildren. But these are lessons that can go on for eternity, pretty much. I'm grateful that I put so much time and work into my portfolio because it's my favorite accomplishment. So I would remind you, don't forget to play. Again, I'm sorry for the length of this video. I knew it was going to be long, but again, stop it and start it and go through it when you can. I'm not looking for you to do this with your portfolio at this time, as I know you're just taking courses. So when I give you an assignment to do a portfolio, and maybe it's your first early childhood class, I'm looking for you to get a binder, get the dividers and label them, maybe do your autobiography, maybe put a title page on it and give me 2 artifacts from that class that you are in. Now, as you go, you can add your artifacts, more artifacts, you can add pictures, you can make it more interesting, you can add children's artwork, you can show the beauty of being in the classroom, pictures of your bulletin board or you in the classroom, you can add to it. Now, if you're halfway through your early childhood courses and you lost your work from some of your early childhood courses, make up for it. I'm looking for an artifact for that area. You can add it in, or you can put a marker saying, I'm going to take this course next semester. I'll do it next semester. But for the class that this assignment is in, I'm just looking for you to put the binder together, give me a picture of it, and give me a picture of 2 of your artifacts and explain why you chose those artifacts. Okay? If you have any questions, you can always call me, email me, text me. I'm here. You have my contact information, and I'm here to help you. And I love early childhood education. So please, call me. I'm here for you. So the next thing is I want to dedicate this portfolio to Janet Candelaria O'Connor, my mother. She taught me everything I know about teaching young children. And sadly, I have lost her. But again, here's a picture of her here with one of her preschool classes on a field trip. And you can see she absolutely loved her children. She adored teaching them and being in the classroom. And I know that she is always with me. And everything I know, I'm passing on to you guys. So I hope you enjoy this video and you find it helpful on your career path. And again, if you need any help, you call me, email me, text me. I'm here for you. Thanks for joining me. I'm so happy to have you in my courses, in my program, in early childhood ed, in education, in CEP. I love being a teacher. I miss being with young children, but I still love my students. And so I'm here for you as long as you need me. So check out this video. I know it's going to be way too long, but divide it up, watch it for a little amount of time, and then to watch it again the next day. But I guarantee you're going to find information that will help you on your career path and help you in your classroom. And again, if you ever want to pick my brain, I am here for you, and you are welcome to call, text, or email me anytime. Thanks for joining me.